In this presentation, I hope to be able to talk you through briefly some of the changes to classifications and reporting that will be happening at Lancing in the 2017-18 academic year. The first of these changes is to do with attainment grades, and particularly the attainment grades for the third form to the fifth form. The government have changed the grading of GCSE subjects so that now the new grading system will run from 9 down to 1, 9 being the highest possible attainment, 1 being the lowest possible attainment. We will therefore be using that 9 to 1 grading system for all third to fifth form grades from now onwards. Let's have a look using this brief diagram how the 9 to 1 grading system equates to the old A star to E system that many of you will be used to. The first thing to note here is that we have a new grade, the new 9 grade being a notional new and higher currency of double A star grade, which is different from anything which has previously been in existence under the old A star to E system. In broad terms, an 8 is equivalent to an old A star. And if we look down here, a 7 is very similar to the A grade that we used to have. A B grade seems to equate very directly to a 6. There is, however, a degree of confusion in the government's statements at the moment regarding the relation of 5 and 4 grades, so I'll talk you through that briefly. The government states that a 5 grade is a higher pass, that being the equivalent of a C+ in the old system. A 4 grade is something which is notionally counted by the government as being a pass grade at the new GCSEs, but is something which some employers are less favourable towards. A 3 grade, however, in real terms, represents a grade that wouldn't be considered a pass in the new GCSE system, and so a 3 equates to a D in the old system, a 2 to an E, a 1 to an F, and 0 to a U grade. Some brief guidance on the classification system is, I think, very helpful here, both for students and for parents. We've obviously had a good look at the first issue of 9 to 1 grades, where they've emerged in the state sector, where they've had them this last year for English and mathematics. The evidence seemed to suggest that a 9 grade is indeed a very high value grade indeed. So a degree of guidance here for you is that, particularly in the third and fourth form, they would be a very rare thing to encounter at all, and it's likely that 9 grades will emerge as the year progresses in the fifth form. So the advice really is, don't be alarmed if you don't see those immediately, that the 9 grade really is the acme of very high achievement indeed. The distinction between 5 and 4 as grades is also quite a fine one. We are aiming for everybody to get 5s or better in all of their GCSEs. Getting a 4 in your classifications is effectively sending the message that you're only just reaching the pass grade standard in that subject. And obviously, what we'd like to see is everybody moving towards 5s or indeed better than 5s in all of their subjects. So there's a slight degree of caution that I would sound if you're getting too many 4s. We should also say something about how grades happen. Effectively, if you get a grade in a particular classification, let's say you were to get a 6 in English halfway through the year, what that effectively is saying is not that you are getting a 6 just for that 6-week period since the last set of classifications. What it indicates is a direction of travel, i.e., what you've been doing recently indicates that if you keep on going the same way, that grade, the 6 in this case, would be what you would be likely to get at the end of the course. Therefore, there will be a degree of variation between one classification period and another, but broadly, classifications are cumulative in their effect. I should also mention the business of target grades at this point. First of all, for some clarification, that a target is, as it would suggest, that grade to which a student should be aiming, not necessarily a firm prediction that that's what they're going to get. Of course, anybody can exceed their target grade, and we actively encourage people to do so. But for the moment, we're taking off the old A star to E target grades, and for fifth formers, we're going to revise those target grades and reissue them in the light of the trials examinations that happen at the end of this term. So expect to see target grades and numerical target grades returning for the first set of classifications in the Lent term in late January, early February. We've also made some changes to the effort grading system, not least because the old effort grading system used to be numerical, as you will remember, with 1 being the highest for effort and 4 being the lowest for effort in the old system. Naturally, given that the new attainment system now runs numerically, with 9 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, we thought to stick with the old numerical effort grading system would be confusing, so we've changed it. As you can see from the diagram, 1 translates directly to the new effort grade, which will be outstanding, which means, as the name would suggest, that a student really is standing out amongst their peer group as really putting in an excellent effort, one that we are really very proud of. 2 will mean that the effort is good and that we are generally very pleased with that effort. 3 will mean that we detect some inconsistency in the effort, either that it is not quite at the level that we want it, or that it varies too much between being at some times good or indeed possibly even outstanding, and at other times possibly poor. And the new grade of poor means that we are consistently unhappy with the level of application that a student is giving to that particular subject. Some notes here on the change to the effort system that I think are worth bearing in mind. The first of these is that we have decided that we are reintroducing an effort grade back into the fifth form, where we think that that would be useful. And indeed, we're giving some consideration at present about whether we are going to reintroduce effort grading into the sixth form as well, but that's unlikely to occur until next academic year. We're also changing and slightly revaluing the currency. So where we've changed from the old 3 grade to the new inconsistent grade, we're actually directing our teachers to, where they think that grade is inconsistent, to award it a little more. Don't be alarmed by that. Along with that, we will be slightly adjusting how we qualify people for gold, silver and bronze effort grading. I think the key thing is that where we think effort isn't quite as consistent as we'd like it, that we use the full range of the grades, but that we allow our colour banding to demonstrate where people we think are working pretty hard. In the past, I think perhaps we may have awarded a few too many 2 grades where we might have meant 3 grades. So we've instructed staff to have a look at that. So don't be alarmed if the occasional inconsistent sneaks in, whilst obviously we are hoping for everybody to achieve good or better. At sixth form level, things don't really change. The new linear system of examinations involves the absence of AS levels anymore, but we maintain the A star to E grade attainment markers, so we'll be keeping those throughout the course of the sixth form. A note of caution, however, for new lower sixth form students. If you had been receiving A stars in your GCSEs in the fifth form, please don't expect to immediately be getting those in the lower sixth. There is, of course, quite a transition in terms of the level of complexity of work in the sixth form, and it takes a little while to get back up to A star standard for some students. I wouldn't worry about that. However, what I would urge students is to keep on going and particularly make that transition to the more independent style of work in the sixth form, and of course to ask if you don't understand why you're getting the attainment grades that you're receiving. The college runs in excess of 40 academic clinics in the course of any given week, and those are there specifically in order to help and support people with their learning. So please do go along to them, ask both why you're receiving the level that you're receiving currently, and of course how you can improve. In terms of how we mark effort in the sixth form, then very simply we expect students to be working to a high standard because our experience has been that those students that work very hard end up doing very well, whatever they're received at GCSE level. Therefore, we actually report only variation from the excellent level of effort which we expect. And that variation might be in the form of a note next to the attainment grade that could be one of a number of things. We may, for example, mark that a student has work that is incomplete, or indeed if that work is missing. We also mark if a student demonstrates a lack of focus in class. And the final thing that we note is, and here you will have to excuse my own lack of focus, for I've made an error in this presentation originally, we will also note if a student has produced work late. I hope that this has been useful in terms of helping your understanding of how our classification system has changed slightly, and of course, if you have any questions regarding this or anything else, please do not hesitate to get in contact.